Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who doesn't know what pass interference is. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing great. Wouldn't be a Chiefs game without some referee controversies, of course. So
They're just doing this intentionally at this point. I think it's rigged
yeah.
the rig isn't like to help out the Chiefs. It's just to get the people to talk about refs missed another call.
Yeah, exactly. But I gotta say, I don't know what we did today to deserve this, but what an amazing sports day. We had a full slate of football. We had Premier League top two teams play each other this week today. We had the Milan derby, AC Milan versus Inter Milan, Boca Juniors versus River Plate. I mean, all this stuff going on today. What a sports day. This was fantastic.
Yes, and we'll be talking about some of that here on this show, so be on the lookout for that. A great weekend. Bad week for us. Our teams did horrible this week, but a good week for football in general. And as always, let's just jump into it. Let's start off with the Sunday night game, as we always do. A dramatic game, a very entertaining game throughout. There was a period of time where it kind of looked like both teams were going to run away with it. The Falcons early, the Chiefs later on. Ends up coming down to the wire. A controversial call here in this one. Kyle, I want to start off with, I saw you tweeted about, you had some questions about the Falcons' decision-making towards the end there.
Yeah, I understand your time management situations are difficult. I personally would just go into every situation against the Kansas City Chiefs with the goal of leaving 0 seconds for Patrick Mahomes. That is my number one goal, and my number two goal is scoring. Obviously, it's reversed, but those are the two things you're trying to accomplish on the set of circumstances. And I understand that Atlanta had multiple offensive linemen down, so some of the play calling was tough. But I just kept seeing that Darnell Mooney screen all day. And I don't know why they kept going back to it. Cause it's like every time the Chiefs read it, there was a guy in the backfield hitting him basically as he caught it every time. But anyway, so besides that play calling, really nice pass to Drake London. He catches the ball. He gets tackled for 3rd and 2. And I think there's 1 minute left on the clock exactly at this point. And Raheem Morris runs onto the field to call the timeout here. Races on the field to call the timeout. To call a run play inside that they don't get the first down. It's a 1-yard gain. My first problem is, first of all, the clock is your friend. You don't need to call a timeout there. The second thing, running the ball there is advantageous in a 2-minute drill because a 2-minute drill, you can get up to the line of scrimmage. You don't have to use a timeout, and the defense can't put their big personnel on the field. They cannot make subs if you're going to rush to the ball and try and call the run play from the line of scrimmage. But that wasn't planned, obviously. They called the timeout, let the Chiefs make their subs. They got stuffed at the line of scrimmage. And then the bizarrest one was the Andy Reid's trying to preserve time for Mahomes, and Raheem Morris is also apparently trying to preserve time for Patrick Mahomes, but they're both calling a timeout. And then, I think if there's any lesson we're learning today, if you need 1 yard and your offensive coordinator is calling a sweep play between them and Chicago, that offensive coordinator needs to be put in timeout because that was ridiculous. And that was a bad play. Nick Bolton blew that up immediately. That was a disaster.
Yeah, we had some questionable 4th and 1 calls. Also, the Eagles with their fake touch push as well in this one. We have a super chat. Owen Weston says Arsenal were robbed at Kyle. I don't know what that means, but was Arsenal robbed, Kyle?
It was a bad red card. I'll be honest. But Manchester City outshot them 32-5 too, so no complaints.
Okay, yeah, that seems like a wide disparity. Anyway, back to the Chiefs Falcons. I agree. I think there was some weird stuff there with Atlanta. I also, this whole game was just bizarre. We got to talk about the flag at the end. I mean, the no flag. It was almost exactly the Cincinnati penalty from a week ago. It was reversed where Pitts was running backwards instead of running further deep. But it was basically the same thing.
Yeah, that was a tough one. They also got a call wrong on the McDuffie play the next drive.
Yeah.
So but obviously one's in the end zone. That would have been 1st and goal at the 1 yard line. That changes everything. But we just saw him try and get a yard too. It's a missed call. It was a bad missed call. I don't really know because the ref's right behind it too. I don't know how he misses it either. So
I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's like, I mean, like these things happen so fast. It's easy to say in hindsight he got there early.
Yeah. I don't know. That just felt like a pretty blatant one. I mean, yeah, it's just it's a missed call. That's kind of my opinion on it, but they
I
have
just
to.
think I'd be the worst ref. I'd miss like most of what happens.
Yeah. But you got to do it with confidence. That's all that matters.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Women
And
and
flag,
football players,
flag
they love
anyone who
confidence.
argues.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I just thought it was a very bizarre ending. I think like the general gist of the game, my thoughts were like I think Atlanta threw a big haymaker to start this game. Like they had a huge like energy from the crowd and they brought it. And I thought they played well to start. And then I mean the Chiefs showed the heart of the champion. It's like, you keep throwing your punches, you keep doing your thing, and that sort of worked out.
Kyle, I can't figure out this Chiefs team. This just
Mhm.
Chiefs team is 3-0. They have outgained their opponents 0 times so far this season. They have won the turnover battle 0 times this season. They've been horrible in the red zone. How are they winning games? What am I missing here?
They're Jedi mind tricking teams, basically.
Yeah.
First of all, I think this defense is amazing. If there's a second thing I'm going to criticize Raheem Morris and the offensive staff about, it's looking at these outside corners and not making sure Drake London is the most targeted player in the game by far.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest issue with I think people get way into like trying to say like play calling, like trying to make decisions for play calling and all that. If I'm going to criticize the play calling on those final 2 plays, I just want Drake London involved. Like I want an opportunity for Drake London to get the ball to win the game. So that was my biggest thing. And like, I think they needed to go at him more, but yeah, I don't know. Like they continue to find ways. Like the funny thing is like you can't even say they like just make less mistakes because they make mistakes. That's the whole point.
They don't make less
But
mistakes. They've been making like as many mistakes.
yeah, but it's like the timing of the mistakes that's the difference, and
Right.
that just feels like it is. Like it feels like the Chiefs know when to hunker down, but also like they had that 3rd and 2 in their own territory where they just needed a couple first downs to end the game, and Mahomes missed Worthy on what looked like a miscommunication, and that would have effectively, that was another mistake, and it gave Atlanta a chance to win. It's just it feels like they're doing just enough to win. Like they're doing the C's get degrees thing, but just in terms of football, and like they're going to win the division now probably, and they're probably going to coast to it with Justin Herbert hurt. So yeah, I mean they're going to do enough, and I don't know. I don't know what else to think of it.
Yeah. Chiefs are in a good. I mean, you can't. It's, at a certain point, you just have to say this is. I'm not like I'm expecting it to continue. It's the weird like how the Steelers have their weird thing. Like the Chiefs have that just on like a much higher scale. Like they should be a championship team, but also they also have Steelers magic on top of it.
Yeah, it is bizarre. Like Mahomes is throwing a lot of like balls in harm's way. Like
He's not playing that well this year.
No. I would not list him as like a top 5 quarterback so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like just on like performance, not like our, what we perceive of these guys.
You take him over any quarterback. Just so far through 3 games, he hasn't been playing his best football.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just think it's a fascinating wrinkle to this thing, but like obviously I think they're going to figure it out. There's a lot of Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico talk about Travis Kelce and why he's not involved, and I don't really like. I think they want to preserve him. Although he's still playing like every snap. I think they're trying to limit his touches, but at the same time, like I don't think they really know how to effectively use his touches. Like there's just a lot of like Noah Gray involved, and it's like, you know what? I don't really want to see Noah Gray that much. That's kind of my general gist of it.
We have a super chat. Falcons running backs run parallel to the line of scrimmage a lot. That is true. Also, Kyle, I'm waiting for this take. When are we going to admit that Bijan Robinson is just a good running back? I just feel like that's another issue I have. It's kind of going off of what you're saying about like, why aren't you just pushing the ball down the field? It's like you have these weapons like Bijan Robinson, 16 carries for at 1.9 yards per carry. He made some good plays, but like he can't. I feel like they tried too often to build off of him and have him beat a guy when I think they're better off if they're just like if he's just a piece of the offense.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's also hard because he was amazing in the last game. Like,
sure. Mm-hmm.
So like it. I think the issue I had was like the Chiefs were very much just built to like stop the run game, And then when the Atlanta had the offensive line injuries, it was just even more so like the defensive line dominated this game. Like that was the most dominant factor was the Chiefs defensive line was really good. But yeah, I think that was with those guys down too. I thought it was a big issue, and he's been very inconsistent with his performances. He's had great moments, he's had great games like he did last week, but he hasn't put together a great running back tape from every game. So
yeah.
I don't really know what to think of it.
Yeah, and we'll get to it with Baltimore. I think sometimes it's better off just letting your running, if even if you have a good running back, just letting them be a piece of the offense, not the whole thing. Kyle, we could spend another hour on this game, but let's move on because there was a lot of great stuff. Let's go to another game that might have been the game of the year so far, certainly the ending of the last 3 minutes of the year. I would say 49ers lose to the Los Angeles Rams. It was a game that it's a very fun win probability chart because it starts off at like 95% Niners and just stays there until the very end when like the Rams find a way to pull out the victory. A lot of crazy stuff. I mean, a missed 55-yard field goal, which is it's a hard field goal to make, but still, missed 55-yard field goal gives the Rams a chance. They get a long touchdown a long play that sets up a touchdown almost immediately after. There's a dropped pass that would have led to the 49ers potential game-winning field goal attempt as time expired. Because of that, they have to punt to the Rams. The Rams get a long punt return. They get in field goal range. They win, but there's still they take the lead, but there's still 2 seconds left. And then there was a play at the end where the 49ers nearly had a chance to win they were kind of doing the pitchy woo-woo play. And then all of a sudden, like, it almost worked. And Jauan Jennings was like open and they just missed the throw to him. So they weren't able to convert on that. Kyle, this was insane.
Yeah. Wild game, wild finish. And I mean, this is a bad loss, right? Like, I mean, yeah. I want to give a lot of credit to like Matthew Stafford and all that stuff too. But like, this is a bad loss. I'm not like, oh, hi Luna. I'm not panicking about the 49ers or anything, but like, especially off of last week's dud, like I thought they came out with some pretty good energy to start this game. Obviously they jumped up 14-0. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that there was way too many mistakes down the stretch. And like, I just feel like we've seen this a lot lately because a lot of these games that looked like blowouts in the afternoon slate, all of a sudden ended up very close. And like we saw it last week with the Ravens, we've seen it a couple other times. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of like sitting on your laurels once you're up double digits in the NFL right now. Like we have seen a lot of games quickly get diminished and then blown a couple times now this season from good teams. And I don't really know what to think of that either.
Denver held on to that lead today.
Yeah, they did okay.
Yeah, but yes, no. I mean, you're right. I mean, it was just kind of a weird thing where like the whole game, it's like the Rams and the entire 4:00 slate. It looked like it was going to be like all blowouts, and then all of a sudden, like every team that was down started doing well. It felt like, but yeah, I mean, like it felt like the Niners had it, and they just. To me, the choke wasn't even really the final few minutes. It was more so just the entire game never being able to really put the Rams away.
Yeah. Yeah, they really just couldn't finish it off. I mean, Jauan Jennings had the game of his life, and then all of a sudden the second half, it's like they just couldn't string together enough first downs. And like I really don't know what to think of this game because like this Los Angeles team is just so diminished right now. Like this is one of the worst weeks of the season. Like I legitimately think, I know it's a divisional game. This is an intense like matchup. These teams always plays competitive, but like this feels like a major letdown.
It does. Matthew Stafford, another fantastic performance by him. I mean, again, I feel like a lot of like the numbers aren't going to be great, and even like the advanced stats aren't going to be great with him, just because like it is such a bad situation. Like what he's able to do in these bad situations is just remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're throwing a Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Colby Parkinson, and Tyler Johnson, like there's probably going to be a ceiling on your numbers. Like this is definitely not a numbers quarterback. But the thing is like you look across the NFL, nobody in the NFL right now is really a numbers-based quarterback besides Andy Dalton and Sam Darnold, the two best quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
You know, I just think like nobody is doing more with less right now than Matthew Stafford. And I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing as well with the 49ers. Look, they have a lot of injuries as well, right? They had a ton
Hmm.
of offensive players out. So, while they still should, there's no excuse to lose to the Rams with the injuries they have. It's worth mentioning. Brandon Ayuk has to play better. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
he held out. He got his big contract. And if you're not playing well, like people, I think 49ers fans already starting to get frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was not impactful. I mean, just straight up. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a lot of attention to him right now too, especially with all the other guys out. But like, you're paid to be the guy who can make things happen. The best receivers in the league make things happen even with all the attention, and he so far hasn't been able to do that.
Well, let's move on then. Again, another game we could spend an hour on, but we have to keep things moving here. Let's go to Ravens Cowboys, a game that was for a while just going to be one of the big blowouts of the the 4 p.m. slot, and it was over. And then all of a sudden, Kyle, we should have seen this coming, right?
Yeah.
The Ravens, who always struggle in the fourth quarter, and the Cowboys, who are the garbage time champions. Like, of course, this would happen. Cowboys nearly pull off an unbelievable comeback as they had, they scored a touchdown late to make it. I'm trying to remember what the score. I believe that get them over double digits for the first time when the Ravens had 28. And then they hit the onside kick, get another touchdown, and all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on, can this team actually do something? They end up scoring another touchdown in the fourth quarter, but it was finally Lamar was able to get enough rushes going at the end to succeed. Had that crazy fourth quarter comeback not happen, the story of this game was going to be another really impressive, or I guess another really disappointing performance by this Cowboys defense, and also this Ravens offense looking like what we thought it would preseason.
Yeah. Everything we wanted to see from the Ravens offense in the first three quarters we saw. It's amazing. Like, they've played 10 awesome quarters, it feels like, in the NFL so far this year. And they're 1-2 now. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think they're doing a lot of things right, but they're not closing these games. I guess you could say they've played 9 awesome quarters because they weren't good in the fourth quarter of this game. So yeah, I just think it's a really weird team right now that it's like they need to figure out how to fix this issue, because it is an issue. Like, they can't just keep blowing leads. And it's not just a thing that's like new. It's something that's been like 4 or 5 years now. But yeah, I mean, it came down to like a 3rd and 6, and Lamar Jackson hit Zay Flowers for 9 yards. That was the difference. Like, they needed like 7 or 8 throws. I think they threw the ball 15 times in this game. They needed like 7 or 8 great throws, and Lamar made one at the very end. But yeah, I have deep concerns for this Dallas defense right now. I have deep concerns. I know they got going in the fourth quarter. I have deep concerns for this Dallas offense that hasn't been able to get a lot going. I think the pass catchers, a lot of the concerns that people had for the pass catchers in the preseason has not really panned out. Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb seem to be the only guys that can really kind of do their own thing. And yeah, I think between the run defense still not being fixed after all these years, I have a lot of concerns with Dallas, and I have some concerns with Baltimore and what they did in the fourth quarter, but a lot of the other stuff was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I have kind of 2 thoughts on the Ravens. I agree they need to clean up the fourth quarter stuff. Part of it, too, is like, I mean, okay, an onside kick gets recovered on you. What are you going to do? Like, there is an element of that as well. The one big positive, though, was, you brought up the Ravens only passing 15 times. Lamar himself rushed at 14. So they were definitely, and some of those were scrambles, but a lot of them weren't. I think that Derrick Henry, you look at his numbers, 25 carries, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You're like, oh, they must have gone full Tennessee Titans, but they really didn't. They handed off to him when it made sense, and they didn't when it didn't make sense. You saw the stacked boxes that Dallas is starting to put in there. There was one play where Lamar fakes the handoff and then keeps it himself. And Micah Parsons, I think for a solid 30 minutes was still chasing Derrick Henry. I mean, he had it's not. I'm not blaming Micah Parsons. It's just that's how deadly this can be. So I think that aspect of the Ravens, you forget about the horrible fourth quarter. That's really exciting if you're a Ravens fan.
It is exciting, and those two look really potent. I guess one thing, and it's still a lot of runs for Lamar, even though you want to use his legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think that's what they have to do this year. I just don't think they have the passing attack.
And they don't have the blocking for it. Like, I think part of this too is that they can't
Mhm.
pass block, and so
Yeah.
they're just like leaning into this. So, I mean, I guess it all makes sense, but at the same time, like, it's definitely not an ideal situation. Like, do you feel just with this win? I know the fourth quarter thing is still a thing. Do you still feel like the Ravens are top tier?
I think it's hard to put them in top tier just because they're 1-2, but I feel better about them now than I did yesterday.
Yeah. And then I know it was garbage time, but like we had concerns about the secondary after the first 2 weeks. They had got exposed, it seemed like the first 2 weeks. They did pretty well to start this game, obviously, but like obviously Dak got going in the fourth quarter. Do you just take that as a fourth quarter thing, or do you take that as like there's still concerns with the secondary thing?
It did seem like they took their foot off the gas a bit defensively. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard to say. I want to talk about Dallas now. Because
Yeah.
like, first off, I think this defense is just really bad. I think this is a bad
Hmm.
defense. They they need to get healthy as part of it. But like, I think that's an issue for them. And like, I mean, it's you have CD Lamb and Dak Prescott arguing after the game. CD Lamb's you could read his lips saying like, just get me the ball. So like, there's that aspect to this of like, I don't think the offense played like, it had a great fourth quarter for sure, but like it didn't have, I mean, it had 6 points entering the fourth quarter. So like that's a major issue. I mean, this is just, it's a team that I think Dallas will eventually turn it around to be decent, but like there's some real issues here. Luckily, they play the Giants on Thursday Night Football, but the Giants are coming off a win, so we'll see how it goes. Oh, are you still there? Did I lose Kyle? Chat, let me know. Is this did I lose Kyle, or did Kyle who's gone here? Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's okay. I think this is means I lost Kyle. Again, I'll wait a minute for the chat to load and tell me. But Kyle is gone. Okay, sorry everyone. Solo podcast here, which is just everyone's biggest nightmare because I think that most people are here for Kyle. So I think we're good on Ravens Cowboys. I don't know if Kyle had any more thoughts, so why don't I just move on to the next game as Kyle waits. I'm sure it's an internet issue or something like that, so we'll wait on that. Sorry, everyone. Kyle will be back in a second. In the meantime, um, let's go to Eagles Saints. Why don't we? Because I think this was a game. And chat, let me know. Ask me questions about Eagles Saints below, so that way we can kind of keep the dialogue going as I wait for Kyle to return. But yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles pull off a weird, bizarre game where it felt like both teams at times were really massively hurting themselves, right? I mean, like the Kyle left to watch Ernest movies. Yep, that's what happened. The I thought that the Eagles played again very weird game of football. The New Orleans Saints and Eagles both kept struggling on these fourth down situations. Neither team was successful. It was weird where both kind of the thought going in was this red hot Saints offense against the defense in the Eagles that has kind of not been great. Shown flashes in the Atlanta game, but played great here. Okay, do we have Kyle back? Kyle, are you back?
I'm back.
All right. Everything, was it just an internet issue?
Yeah, just completely on me.
Gotcha. No worries. Glad that you're back. Chat was very very upset.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened, but glad to be back, and seems like I missed all the Cowboys thing, so we can move on there.
Yeah, I figured we kind of had covered that. Yeah, just to be clear, they're upset because they like you on the show, not because they're like mad at you.
Yeah. I feel like this is you because I'm up in the picks again this week, so
Yeah, at least I did better this week. At least last week was tough, but
yeah.
we'll get into it when we get to the Broncos, I think. But Eagles Saints, I was kind of quickly what I was saying is a very weird game where like both teams kept getting in their own way at times here. What were your thoughts on this one?
Both coaches got in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I thought this was a really poorly coached game. Nick Sirianni, that fourth down decision at the end of the first half is probably the worst fourth down decision I've ever seen in my life. And I think the next gen stats had it as like the next gen stats I think Ben Solak tweeted it out, said that it was plus 8.1% win probability to kick the field goal at half. He goes for it on 4th and 1 with like 14 seconds left. And I'm just like thinking to myself, so your solution here is to go for it on 4th one, to try and run for a 2-yard gain to get a first down, to then call a timeout and have one throw to the end zone with 10 seconds left. I'm like, well, instead of just taking the free 3 points that would have tied the game at half, that was the worst decision I've ever seen in my life. The other one I thought was much more justifiable. But yeah, it just felt like both of these teams, like you said, got in their own way, and I thought the coaches got in their own way. I didn't love a lot of the Saints play calling. Like I think they were very heavily using Alvin Kamara for reasons that, like, Kamara is great. He's their best player, obviously, so you're going to use him. But I don't know how you watch the Eagles pass defense from the past year plus and then decided you're just not going to throw the ball. So I just thought it was all bizarre from top to bottom. And yeah, unfortunately, somebody did win this game.
Unfortunately, someone won the game. Yes. No, I mean, yeah. Just the play call you brought up. It was 4th and 1 at the Saints' 15-yard line with 14 seconds left, and they decided to go for it. And I believe that was the fake tush push. They didn't even go with the tush push, which was great. Very, very bizarre there. Nick Sirianni. I mean, he's just out of a job if the Eagles don't do very well this year. I think he could lose his job if the Eagles win a playoff game. I think that's in the cards this season.
Yeah. I think fans were ready for him to be fired after this game if they lost. I mean,
I think so too.
I mean, it's tough. Like, I don't think he's doing a very good job, obviously. I just did, a minute on that. But like, this team is just so much different without JJ Brown. I would have to reevaluate this entire team without AJ Brown at this point. Like, I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good of a quarterback without AJ Brown. Like, just to be honest, like straight up, I don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback without AJ Brown. I don't think this is a good offense without AJ Brown. I don't think it's being well coached. I don't think it's a very good defense at times, although they did play it better today. And that started with their defensive line starting playing up to its par, which granted, I think part of that could also be the Saints offensive line finally like showing some exposure. But I think it's an entirely different offense without AJ Brown, and it's looking like it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. And part of it too, though, is like you look at how they're constructed. They basically have no depth. It's like we have Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and AJ Brown, and it's like if one of them gets hurt, like it's okay. Hopefully, Paris Campbell can do something. Dallas Goedert had 10 catches for 170 yards. He also had that huge play when at first I thought it was a pick. It wasn't. Just two Saints players ran into each other, which allowed for Dallas Goedert to pick up almost touchdown. It was a 50-plus yard play. Smith even went down in this game, so that obviously hurt. I thought Hurts played well in this game. I get what you're saying. If like the offense just does not look the same without AJ Brown, but like I think Hurts is doing what he can in this situation.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I thought he played well in this game, but did you watch this game and think this is like a borderline elite quarterback?
No.
And a well played.
And when Brown is there, you do sometimes feel that way. I agree.
Yeah. So I just think it changed everything. I thought Goddard played a terrific game. That pick play you mentioned where the Saints players ran in, it wasn't even just that they ran into each other. It was the most funny way possible. Like, these guys collided with each other in the middle of the field. I don't know how anybody like tried to avoid that at all. But anyway. Yeah, Goddard made a terrific play there. Saquon Barkley is incredible.
Yeah.
And that was basically the game.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Saints who we were talking about as maybe like I think I even said at one point like maybe Super Bowl if the Lions and 49ers aren't as good as we thought they'd be. There's like a dark horse chance. Disappointing loss here as the offense maybe just got to play the Panthers and the Cowboys to start the year.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. We'll adjust this offense as the season goes on. But I think the defense, I still think, played decently well. I think the Eagles got yards in this game. It felt like every drive ended up in the Saints half of the field. But for various level of circumstances, whether it was Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni, they didn't score. But yeah, so I thought the defense played well enough. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see this offense going forward. I'm still not like overly concerned. I still think it's a pretty good team, and they played a pretty good team and handled them well. I just don't know how good they are.
Someone with a super chat, Steelers Vikings Super Bowl. That would be a fun one. We'll see if it happens. But yeah, that's two of the undefeated teams. Let's move on to, well, Kyle, let's just go Broncos Bucs. Why don't we? I mean, I'm sure there's a group of people, as 200 people or over 200 people are watching live right now. I'm assuming a chunk of them are here to see my reaction to the Buccaneers losing to the Broncos. What's strange about this game, Kyle, is it wasn't that weird of a game. Like, the Broncos just kind of like dominated every facet of football. Like, they covered really well. Baker has been known to struggle sometimes when he's not in a great situation, especially when he was in Carolina. But here you see it happen. You then have the Buccaneers defense, which is riddled with injuries, but also like part of it is just they don't have a great pass rush, and even with the interior defensive line injuries, like they still wouldn't have a great pass rush. The Broncos pass protect well. Bo Nix had all day to throw. Sean Payton, listen, Todd Bowles won the game that mattered against Sean Payton. But for the most part, Sean Payton has had Bowles' number over the years as well. So, I mean, it's something I'm used to, Kyle, really, of just in the fourth quarter of a game that we have no chance and Sean Payton is celebrating on the sideline.
Yeah, it's a tough look. Obviously, something you don't want to see. I mean, I thought Bo Nix played pretty well in this game. I do. Like you said, he did have a lot of time to throw. That played a part. But I also think he used his legs effectively. Like, whenever there was pressure, he was able to extend the play. And I think that's something that the Buccaneers are really going to struggle with this year, to be honest. Like you said, without that pass rush. Like, I also think, like, their guys are, like, straight line drive pass rushers. Like, they're not going to be able to chase anybody around. And with the injuries in the secondary, they can't cover long enough to do it anyways. Like, and so I thought Bo Nix showed some really good stuff with that. He did put a couple balls in harm's way and got, a little lucky. But for the most part, I thought it was good. I thought it was a huge step forward for his production. So yeah, I thought it was a good performance from Denver's offense and a better performance from Denver's defense, which just shut down this offense that had been pretty good the first 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, through the first 2 weeks, his passer ratings was 47.5 week 1, 55.2 week 2. So yeah, I mean, he was looking like borderline unplayable the first 2 weeks. To jump up to, I thought, good and better than what the stats would show. You have to feel great if you're a Denver fan after this. But I mean, and yeah, Kyle, one of the biggest blunders in On the Sideline podcast history during the Pick'em show, I had the choice to give you either this game or the Dolphins Seahawks to lock up. I said, I trust the Buccaneers to win more. I'm gonna give myself this game, and I had you lock up the other one. This one goes horribly wrong, and like a minute in, the Seahawks were up 10. It was a bad call by me.
Yeah, that one worked out in my favor for sure. To be fair, this was my number 2 lock choice, so I did get the one I wanted. But yeah, this was rough. I mean, it was really rough to watch. I just couldn't believe, like, I kept waiting for like the Bucs run, and then it just it just never materialized. Are you worried about the rest of the offense beyond Chris Godwin?
A little, yeah. I mean, it's hard to not be. I mean, I think last week we kind of said, well, the Lions, they played well. But at this point, there's now back-to-back games where the offense hasn't looked great. Mike Evans hasn't quite been there. Hasn't been getting as many yards as we're used to seeing from him. He did have the 2 touchdowns in week 1. But yeah, I mean, obviously a big part of this is the backup tackle situation is just not good. Like that's just a real issue. But yeah, I mean, the running game still isn't consistent with Rachaad White. Bucky Irving made some nice plays, but it's not there yet. And Kyle, this upcoming stretch is brutal for Tampa. Let me just say the 7 games they play next. I'm not going to give the exact order, but they play the Saints once and the Falcons twice. So 3 big divisional games. They also play the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the 49ers. And just in the first half of the season alone, they play every team that played in the conference championship last year. I mean, this is a tough the schedule does get easier towards the end of the year, but like this is why dropping this game hurts so bad, because now you really have to just try and stay afloat for these next 7 games.
Yeah. You're tied for the division lead. That's the positive. The negative is, like you said, this schedule is very brutal. First place schedule, man. That's what it looks like. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, this was the most shocking result of the day by far, I think. And it wasn't even like just that the Broncos were able to pull it off. It's that it was so thoroughly convincing.
Right. The Broncos winning is whatever. Like, it's the NFL. It's hard to win games, but to lose this badly it was a bummer.
Yeah. So we'll see how they adjust, and we'll see if once again, like, I don't know, the Broncos now in year 2 of the Sean Payton era, like they looked unplayable the first couple weeks last year too, and they kind of turned it around, and that was a bit of a miracle job. And I mean, maybe this is something too to look at.
Yeah, or maybe he was just all offseason he was planning for this game.
It could have been that too. He's just like, I know Todd Bowles, I'm ready.
I think so. I think that's also potentially possible. Let's move on. Let's go Bears Colts. This is an incredible game. You know me, I love a good bad game, and this one had everything. Had a ton of turnovers. We did see some good plays by both of these quarterbacks. We saw some of the good from Caleb Williams. It was usually washed away with a lot of the bad here. Kyle, again, as Caleb Williams' number one supporter, where are you at right now as the Bears fall to the Colts 21-16?
I at least like that there were signs of progress. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even just say the numbers because he threw the ball a billion times in this game, and like those were late touchdowns too. But like, touchdowns is still more improvement than what we've seen, right?
Yeah.
He had a
Mm-hmm.
chance for a late touchdown in the last game and didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is improvements there, and I thought he had good throws in the first half too. But it just looks like his processing is way too slow right now with everything. Like the first interception, like he's just like staring at the outside receiver, looking, and then he like pump fakes it and then throws it out there, and then like the Colts defender is just there in front of the ball, and like maybe that's something you get away with in college, but like that ball has to be out, right? So I'm not I'm not gonna overreact to anything. Like I do think there is progress here, and I do think he played better than this was his best game of his career. And the second interception, like I also thought the second interception was a flag. But it also was in double coverage, so it's not like that great of a throw.
But it was a good throw. I will say he hit the
It got in the
spot,
window.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was a bad process for like an okayish result that led to a bad result because of a missed call, like kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like there are a few plays like that here and there, and I thought he made plenty of mistakes, but I do like that there is at least good plays that you can go off of too.
Yeah, well, what a game. This game totally lived up to the hype of the turnovers left and right. Anthony Richardson, who I think his mistakes still are just accuracy things. I think he misses too many throws that gets him in trouble.
Well, let me say this. Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in this game.
Okay, there you go. Kyle, if you could, I believe during the draft, I asked you if you could have Justin, if you're the Bears and the Chargers offered Justin Herbert for Caleb Williams, you said you would rather Caleb Williams. Where are you at now?
Yeah, I'd probably take Herbert right now.
Okay, yeah, maybe so. But I mean, I was the second highest. I was number 2, Caleb Williams. Number 2 in the Caleb Williams fan club. It just so happens that you are the biggest Caleb Williams fan. My thought was very simple. I think he's an incredible prospect, but he still is a quarterback prospect. Who knows if this stuff? It takes some time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to panic. I still think he's going to put together some really good games this season, and it's going to take time. But yeah, it's just it's moving a little slow, and I think that's okay. I guess the positives for the Bears and Colts. Positive was Roma Dunze, awesome in this game. Mm-hmm. Had one of the touchdown catches too. He was fantastic. And then the Colts, remember, they had Jonathan Taylor, which is always a good thing to remember.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like I was right about Jonathan Taylor too. I gotta brag about what I'm right about because I've been wrong about a lot this season of the picks. Look who's right about Jonathan Taylor too as well. He is still elite.
Yeah. Maybe give him the ball sometime.
Yeah.
So that was a good play, and the Colts managed to hang on.
Yes, they did. Let's move on. Why don't we? Again, so many interesting games to talk about. This one, there's mainly just one thing to talk about. So, but I want to get into it. The Carolina Panthers destroy the Las Vegas Raiders 36-22. Andy Dalton, 26 for 37, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. It was very funny hearing all the people this week being like, sure, Bryce Young was bad, but like, look at the situation. Only for it was almost like it's almost on the nose by the NFL script writers here.
Yeah, this was so. The funny thing is like we heard all these conversations about like teams inquiring about trading for Bryce Young, all that kind of stuff. What exactly do you get now after this performance? Like, never mind Bryce Young's performance, but now that they've seen this performance in comparison, like, Like, how do you trade him? Like, what do you get it? Like a 7th-round pick?
It's probably more than like Malik Willis got a 7th-round pick. I think you could get more than that. I think like so. Who's the team that would do it? Like I guess the Raiders might be a team that would do it. Of like we have a terrible situation, but like we have some good offensive pieces. Like let's try that, right?
Well, the rumored one was Miami that he'd fit in that offense.
But I feel like they have a quarterback who's just injured. I don't know how much I love that. We have Michael in the super chat. All hail to my glorious king, Andrew Gregory Dalton. I don't like calling him Andrew. I'm not. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, he's Andy. Yeah, with that hair, he's definitely Andy.
Yeah, I think so. I don't. Maybe the Titans, I guess, could be another team. There's some teams. I think you could get a. I think a team. Listen, Sam Darnold got a 2nd and 3rd round pick by the Panthers, and I guess apparently they were ahead of their time. But like, I feel like you could get. I think you could get maybe a 3rd, at least a 4th. I think you could get a 4th for Bryce Young.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
And I think I might take it if I'm
really
Carolina.
Tough. Yeah. Do you know how many quarterbacks have thrown over 300 yards for the Panthers since Cam Newton was quarterback?
Interesting. Since Cam Newton was is this counting when Cam Newton came back?
I don't think he did it when he came back, but yes.
But I'm saying, like, is this like since he came back, since he played the last time, or since he like was
the original Cam Newton tenure, so like till 2019?
Okay. Did PJ Walker do it?
From the numbers I'm seeing, he did not.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Did we ever have a Kyle Allen 300-yard game?
I did not see Kyle Allen.
Okay.
I see a Sam Darnold appearance on January 1st, 2023.
Okay, sure.
I'm seeing Teddy Bridgewater in 2020, September 20th, and now Andy Dalton twice.
Okay, well, yeah. What do we make of the? Are we buying into the Panthers at all? I guess is my like could they? They're only a game out of the playoffs at this point.
No.
Okay.
Probably not. Like, this was a good win. It was a good morale boosting win. I need to see it more than one time. I'm not ready to say this team's going to compete for a playoff spot. I still think I've watched the other 3 NFC teams play better. NFC South teams, sorry.
Probably, I think so as well, but maybe not as incompetent as we thought. And I have to say this too. And Dalton like actively played well. Like he was like hitting some tough throws and everything. It wasn't just like, oh, it actually was Bryce Young was just so bad. The Raiders played in this game. They did not play well. I don't know how this is good. 100% in like 10 weeks, we're going to look back at this day. How did the Raiders beat the Ravens?
Yeah. We're going to end up with like, the funny thing would be like the Raiders end up like a game out of a playoff spot. And this was it.
Possibly. I don't know how much I'm buying into that. I mean, this was kind of a disaster by the Las Vegas Raiders. And even Antonio Pierce said some players were quitting on the sideline or like making business decisions, and he's going to take care of that. Which, like, I don't know, Antonio Pierce, your whole thing is you get guys riled up. If guys are making business decisions, like that never happened with Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I don't understand like this team. Like they can't run the ball at all. Like they just can't. All those running backs are just bad. Zamir White and Alexander Mattison. And like the plan is now for Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell to throw the ball 40 times a game. Like that's the only thing they have offensively. And that's not a recipe for success, in my opinion.
It isn't. We have a super chat. Red Rifle was insane. Knew he was on fire after the drive. I'm assuming after the first drive. Yeah, I agree. Off to a hot start right away. I completely agree. And it's also like defensively for the Raiders. Turns out just like having tackles who are good and like double teaming Max Crosby and paying attention to him kind of is a great way to. What's that?
I said goes a long way.
Yeah. Turns out when a team mostly is relying on one player, taking that one player out of the game makes it easier to pass the ball on them.
Yeah. Such a bizarre performance. Like, yeah, it's weird. I don't know why guys are quitting in week 3 after their biggest win in like years. Like, that's just such a weird thing to happen.
Yeah. It was bizarre. It was a bizarre game. Yeah. I have no more thoughts on this. Do you have any more?
No. I mean, we'll see on both these teams, but yeah, I mean, I still think these are 2 bad teams.
Yeah, I think probably as well. Again, several. There's some close games and then some like I think, interesting game. Well, let's go Texans Vikings. Why don't we? Because the Sam Darnold hype train has has left the station. I don't know what to say. Vikings vibes are high right now as the Minnesota Vikings beat the 49ers and the Texans in back-to-back weeks, and they beat the Giants. This was a really dominant performance. Sam Darnold, I didn't think played great in this one. And yet he ended up with 4 passing touchdowns on the day, so like only 181 yards, and did put the ball in harm's way too many times. But also, like, it's working, so I don't know what to make of this. It's similar to what you said of like this like bad process, good result. Of I guess maybe it's just a good idea to throw it to Justin Jefferson as much as possible. Kyle, my biggest thing about the Vikings is just like Justin Jefferson. I usually get annoyed when people say, "Oh, this player is more important than the quarterback." Justin Jefferson is more important than like all but like 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. And maybe that's a high number.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's in the conversation for sure. He was fantastic again in this game, and he really set the tone. I thought the offense looked really good because of him, and they did a lot of stuff off of him too. Aaron Jones had a big day too. And I mean, this is another team where it's like, you would have to reevaluate this entire team without him on the field. And, yeah, I mean, it was a dominant performance, and I think between him and what Brian Flores is doing with this defense, like, yeah, I think this team might be kind of for real.
Yeah, I mean, like, you look at their resume, it's hard to argue against it. The one thing I'm interested in is like, I mean, this is now kind of back-to-back weeks of a very similar style offense that they were able to dominate. So like that is interesting as well. But I mean, still, like they dominated this game. Like they're dominating really good football teams. They're not just winning. So like, I don't know what to make of this team. I really don't, because like as of right now, you could argue they've been the best team in football like 3 weeks in. If there's like the college football voting system, like they should be the number one seed. But like, I guess my question is just, there's so many players on this roster that don't usually play this good that are playing this good, and I'm like,
yeah,
will they all keep it up through 17 games? I just don't know.
Yeah. Which of the, I guess we haven't talked about the other team. Maybe we can wait until we talk about all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, which of the 3 surprise 3-0 teams would you buy into the most?
Yeah, so it's the the Vikings, the Steelers, and then the
Seahawks.
Seahawks, right? I think maybe the Vikings. The Vikings honestly remind me a lot of the Case Keenum Vikings. That's the best example I can think of. Where it's like, I don't know about the Sam Darnold thing. I don't know how long it's going to work, but like it's working now.
Yeah, and he's playing well enough. Like you said, there were some mistakes, but at the same time, with the offensive weapons they have, like he doesn't have to be perfect. And he's still making some really good throws mixed in there too. Like, it's not all Justin Jefferson. He's also doing some good stuff, but also having Justin Jefferson makes a lot of things a lot easier.
Yeah, and I do want to be clear too. Darnold's doing some nice things as well. It's not just like he's just throwing up jump balls to Justin Jefferson all day. Like he is making some nice plays as well. I don't want to make it. I don't think he's like. I think his. I don't know if he's the reason why they're 3-0, but he is a part of it. So
yeah.
I mean, incredible win by Minnesota once again. How do we feel about the Texans, who again losing to the Vikings? No shame in it, but looking as bad as they did is maybe where the shame comes in a little bit.
Yeah, like this game did get away from them, and Stroud obviously did not play very well. So that I think kind of goes hand in hand. I don't think really anything played well except for Stephon Diggs. And Nico Collins had a couple big catches.
The defense settled Jr. with multiple sacks.
There you go. My issue is like, I even beyond that, like they weren't very convincing in their first 2 wins, anyways. So like. Like, is this just like confirming my issues with the first 2 games, or is it just like they just got outclassed in this game and they'll be fine? But yeah, I don't know. The offense looks kind of sleepy, I guess I should say. Like, I just don't think it's looked very in tune to start the season.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally fair to say this has been an underwhelming start to the year for Houston, a team that we thought maybe could be a championship contender. They barely beat the Colts. The score was, I think, closer than the game was against Chicago, but still came down to like Caleb Williams had a chance to win the game at the end there. Didn't go very well, but he had a chance. and then like getting crushed by Minnesota. Like there's a lot of new pieces, a lot of moving parts. They are a team without a good offensive line, and I think they need to get maybe some of these. I don't know what they have to do exactly, but I need to figure some things out.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, let's move on. Why don't we? We have 6 games left to talk about. Let's go to a close game. The Giants Browns. Why not go to Giants Browns? Malik Neighbors was great in this one. It ended up being a very entertaining game, albeit maybe not the super, not a ton of things at stake here, I don't think. Let's start with Cleveland, who I mean, I don't get why Deshaun Watson's still the quarterback for this team. I'm not even saying it was all his fault. He did make some nice plays in here, but this just isn't working.
Yeah. I mean, he made some nice plays, but he also made some really bad plays.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't win with this quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. There's no margin for error, and I personally think this team's too talented. Their best plays were jump balls to Amari Cooper. He had 2 or 3 insane catches in this game. So yeah, I don't think it's working, man. I think you got to change it up. Although I've been saying this for 3 weeks and they continue to do it. I know they won last week, but yeah, I just don't think there's enough here. I don't think there's enough in this offense. And yeah, I'm just kind of out. I'm just out on this team right now. I don't think they're making the playoffs in the AFC.
I definitely don't, given how this has gone. If they if we see Jameis Winston, maybe things could change. I almost wonder if it's someone coming from upstairs of they're just saying listen, we're stuck with Deshaun Watson for at least another season. He's going to be our quarterback at least this year because of that. I don't think that'd be good logic, but maybe that's what they're doing.
It's not even a good optics move. That's the thing.
No, yeah, it's horrible optics. They would be so much better off if they people would like them more if they just went with Winston.
Yeah. It's so bizarre, man. What were you gonna say though?
The next 2 games are the Raiders and the Commanders. They have to win those games. Those are they can't be messing around. Well, let's give Watson enough. If they drop a game to the Raiders, now you're basically you're not. Even if you get Joe Flacco back.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing though is we would have said that this game though, and they lost this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know. I think defense is too fluky, and this good defense last year was not as good this year. And I mean, I think it's still pretty good defense. It's just not, performing to the insane level that it played last season. And that's probably an unrealistic thing to say that they were going to play at that level again. So yeah, I think it all kind of goes hand in hand, and they had plenty of opportunities to win this game because as good as the Giants were in the first half of this game and they came alive, they were silenced in the second half. They didn't do anything. And they just couldn't get anything going on offense except for throwing it up to Amari Cooper.
Yeah. In fairness, all the Giants were doing was throwing it up to Malik Neighbors. It was really just they were both just kind of doing the same thing. Malik Neighbors was really good in this one.
Yeah, he was electric. Fantastic in this one. Yeah, I mean, he looked like the part of the elite number 1 wide receiver that we wanted. And he's checked every box. So at the very least, at least Giants fans, you could say I'm watching this and I'm watching this generational talent. This isn't going to be a good season, obviously. We've established that through 3 games that it's not going to be a good season. But you're going to watch this generational talent play every week, and then you get that for 4 more years.
Yeah, until then they trade him to someone else and draft a new generational player.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that. Joe with the super chat. I definitely think we're improving as the season goes along. Probably fair. It's hard to get a lot worse than where week 1 was, but I do agree, Joe. Daniel Jones is a backup quarterback being paid as a starter, and that is limiting us. Neighbors, while very good, his best plays were making up for Jones's inaccuracy. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, he's open a lot. He does a very good job of it. I guess the one thing is you could say the defense, for some of the expensive players on this team, a lot of them are on the defensive side, and it did play better. Dexter Lawrence was awesome in this game. Dexter Lawrence has been awesome. We got a Brian Burns appearance in this one. So there are those guys. I thought Thibodeau wasn't awesome throughout, but he had a few big plays, which is kind of what you want to see. Okereke was all over the field. Those are the guys you at least expected something from that you hadn't seen so far this year, and they played much better.
Yeah. And the last thought before we can move on. Also, the Browns have some offensive line injuries, which is really hurting because obviously we expected them to have a great offensive line heading into the year. It kind of going the other way is another big reason. It's not the only reason things are going wrong, but it's part of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, let's move on. We have 5 games left to talk about. Let's go Lions Cardinals. This was again another really interesting game where it just felt like the Lions kind of let the Cardinals hang around, and
Hmm.
the Cardinals just weren't quite able to capitalize on it. I think, where do we want to start off? Let's start off with the Lions before we get into start off with the winning team. Hey, they're winning games. They're winning 2 out of 3, and they nearly won the other one. You feel good about that aspect. And I kind of feel like pretty much everything for the Lions has hit this season, with the exception of like Jared Goff just isn't playing particularly well. He was better in this one, but he's still he made too many mistakes once again.
Yeah, it was weird because I watched like the beginning of this game and I'm like, okay, this is the Lions I wanted to see. I wanted to see them come out. I wanted to see
Hmm.
the offense kick ass. And I think Goff was like 14 to 15 to start this game or something like that.
Hmm.
And then like after that, he was pretty mediocre to bad. So yeah, I still don't know exactly how to feel about this Lions team, but I guess you could say like if you're gonna take anything away from it as a Lions fan to try and spin it positively, your defense played very well against an offense that just scored 40, A. And then B, you're 2-1 to start this season. And while it hasn't exactly been convincing, like part of being a championship team, as we're seeing with Kansas City right now, is you have to win in a lot of different ways. Like you can't just win by scoring 35. And they've been able to do that twice now this season, where they are able to win games by grinding it out, running the ball, playing defense. It's not all going to be relied on Ben Johnson in this offense to scheme up stuff.
I agree. I also feel like though, if they're going to beat Kansas City, they're going to have
Yes.
their best. Just like how the Chiefs, well, yes, they can win in these ugly ways. They can also beat the Bills by Mahomes just going off. Like they need to start having that. I still think it's going to happen. Luckily for them, I didn't think we got the best Kyler Murray day either. Definitely again made some plays, but also like kind of threw a bad interception. I thought underthrew a deep ball that resulted in an interception. He's still Kyler Murray. He still made some incredible plays, but I think Kyler was better in the first 2 weeks than he was today.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, 100%. He didn't play as well. And I think, you could say the Lions defense also played a part in that. But yeah, I mean, I thought he struggled a bit at times. And, you know, the Lions gave him opportunities to win this game and they fell just short. So I still feel pretty good about the Cardinals. I still feel pretty good about the Lions. But I agree, like, at the very least, like, you could beat a San Francisco this way, stuff like that. But you cannot beat Kansas City this way. So yeah, it's going to take a complete game on both sides. So we'll see exactly how it plays out for them. But so far, it's been pretty good.
It turns out you can beat San Francisco in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Right, but yeah, I still think they're a very good team. They're just not fully there yet. One more thing we do have to mention before we move on: there was a controversy in this game as well, as with what appeared to be 2 minutes and 1 second left on the game clock in the second quarter. The Jared Goff takes a snap, throws a pass that gets deflected and then intercepted, return for a touchdown. But the play gets blown dead due to the refs said that there was the 2 minute warning actually happened. Because of this, the play did not count. The play was blown dead during play, although I think the interception still probably would have happened, but I can't say for sure. So it was Cardinals fans definitely disappointed about that. It's definitely a break for the Lions.
Yeah, definitely. So another one. It's a missed call. It sucks. But it did happen. I don't really like. I don't think there's a debate with some missed calls, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely an issue with that.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's
Oh,
go
what about
to
the Jameer Gibbs 0 catches, 20 yards and a touchdown? That's fun.
what was this? Did I miss this?
So it was a catch by I think Amon Rock caught it and then
Oh, right.
flipped it
Yes.
back to him. Yeah, so he
Mhm.
has 0 catches for 20 yards receiving and a touchdown.
Yeah, that is right. Of course, yeah, because he had the hook of that was fun.
Yeah, that's a unique stat. I like it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree. I guess I did one more thought. The halfbacks do have to get better at blocking. I don't know why they went into the season without a blocking back. That's an issue.
Maybe trade Jameer Gibbs for Bijan Robinson. He's actually a pretty good blocking back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Let's move on. Why don't we? 4 games left to talk about. Let's go Packers Titans. The Titans are very much not good. Will Levis is apparently the worst out of these two quarterbacks. He throws a pick six here. Again, they were able to move the ball well. We did see some really good DeAndre Hopkins play. Poor DeAndre Hopkins here. The turnovers are just too much for the Titans, but the real story is just this Malik Willis thing. Over 10 yards per attempt, 19 attempts this time. Also had 73 yards of rushing and a touchdown. So, when he touches the ball, they're getting more than 10 yards of play here, whether it's rushing or throwing. And while yes, a big part of it is still the running game. The running game wasn't overly effective in this one. So, I mean, it's more of a Matt LaFleur thing than a Willis thing. But still, this is a really good job by the Packers.
Very good job. I think if I were to reevaluate my coaches and quarterback rankings 3 weeks into the season, Matt LaFleur is probably in the top 5.
Yeah. I mean, again, but you always do this where you'll just say, "Oh, this person's definitely in the top 5," but you don't have a list of the top 5 where you put there's 10 guys you'll say that about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan. It's I don't know who else would I put? Yeah, no. I think it's probably him. He's in the conversation, no doubt. At that point, he might be third. And Mike Tomlin, obviously. But yeah, I mean,
Sean McVay.
Yeah, he would.
See, this is what I mean, Kyle. You blindside me always on these shows, but with these takes.
That's my top 5 right there. There it is.
Okay.
I'm not moving it. So, yeah, I mean, I just think he's incredible. I think what he's done with this group is amazing. What he's doing with Malik Willis is amazing because I don't think he's this guy, but at the same time, he is playing well and playing with confidence. So that is something. And, it's a really incredible stretch of play.
I agree. We said last week, I think we both are in agreement, it's got to be Mason Rudolph time at a certain point, right, for the Titans?
Yeah. It's just a level of inevitability. You just know the mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't even know a comparison for it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like watching a car crash happen. You're just waiting for the connection and you're just slowly realizing that this is happening. It's just, I don't know. It's the Will Levis experience, man.
Yeah. A lot of fun to watch. He's a fun, bad quarterback.
I guess, yeah.
Well, because there's just quarterback. Bryce Young is not a fun bad quarterback. He's just a bad quarterback.
Right. Yeah. He's definitely going to keep you entertained. That's for sure.
Yes, I think so as well. 3 games left to talk about. Chargers Steelers was a fun game for a while. Herbert gets injured in this one, which is not ideal. Herbert's gotten injured a lot this season. It feels like the Steelers, the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Who would have thought? I want to start off with Justin Fields. So again, not lighting up the stat sheet, and he did have in stat sheet even ended up looking better due to one 50-yard touchdown that was just as much a good receiving play as a good pass. But still, he's definitely playing better than he was in Chicago. That's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. He's not the reason they're winning games. The reason they're winning games is their defense. But we knew the defense was going to be great. They're getting enough offensively here. I don't know how much they can continue this. They've beaten Atlanta, Denver, and Los Angeles, and they played the Colts the following week. I don't know how much longer they can continue this streak, but it's going well so far.
It's not inconceivable to say this team's going to beat the Colts, Cowboys, and Raiders and be 6-0 going to playing the Jets.
If they can pull that one off, then they play the Giants and the Commanders. They could be 9-0.
Even if they don't beat the Jets or something, but this schedule is favorable.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets really hard the second half of the season because they got to play the Bengals twice, the Ravens, twice. The Chiefs, obviously, they play the Eagles. So, it doesn't, necessarily end easy. Yeah. So, it doesn't end easy, but at the same time, there's an opportunity here to stack wins. And like you said, Justin Fields is not putting them in a position to lose. That's sometimes better than putting your team in a position to win. I think that's that is the biggest difference in his game. It's just straight up, he doesn't have to be elite. He's just being fine. and he's probably overqualified talent-wise, like individual skill-wise, to be a game manager, but to have those qualities is not necessarily a bad thing.
I think you broke my brain a little bit. I feel like that was like the most like football guy sentence ever of like it's better to put yourself make sure you don't lose the game for you that your team than to put the team in position to win. But I get what you're saying of it's
Yeah.
good the big part of football is damage management. Or like when something's going wrong, not minimizing that damage. That's definitely what he's weirdly done a good job of, which has been like his biggest like complaint throughout his career. We have a super chat. I don't miss Kenny Pickett. Yeah, I think that again is Fields an amazing quarterback? I don't know, but he's probably worth more than the 6th-round pick that it cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And even his interception was like a triple deflection, like just the most
Mm-hmm.
bizarre thing. So yeah, I mean he did enough. He did enough in this game, and the Steelers are grinding out these games right now. And that was impressive, no doubt.
As for the Chargers, they were a very fun story through the first 2 weeks. Herbert has now left. He left the game with an ankle injury. We don't know how serious it is. They play Kansas City next week anyway, so not expecting a ton there. Are the Chargers are we saying like, okay, fun story, but this is a rebuilding year?
I mean, if this ankle injury is going to last a while too, I think it's a tough spot. I actually thought Herbert was really good in this game until the injury. So I think, I mean, that just changes everything. Yeah. So that if he's missing multiple weeks, I think that's definitely a rebuilding season. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I would imagine so still. Like they're going to get Kansas City, then they get their bye week. Like I would imagine if Herbert's back for that Broncos game, that's a good chance to win. But then it's like, it's not easy from there. Arizona, New Orleans, maybe Cleveland has some stuff figured out by then. I don't know. There's not, it's a tough road besides New England.
Speaking of New England, Kyle, we have 2 games left. Let's go to your New England Patriots. It's a full. I mean, this is. I'm just gonna give you a 4. Kyle, your thoughts?
Frustrating, obviously, to watch. The expectations this season obviously weren't high, but this was kind of embarrassing. I think this could have been 40-3 if the Jets didn't commit so many penalties. I mean, the story of this game was Aaron Rodgers was incredible. I don't think the numbers exactly jump off the page, but they should. I mean, he was really good. And like I said, I think penalties minimize some of his plays. Even his incompletions in this game were impressive. He had a back shoulder throw to Garrett Wilson that Garrett Wilson couldn't keep his foot in for some reason. That was an impressive throw. He had a pass downfield to, I think, Mike Williams in the end zone that just barely got broken up. Like, he moved well. He ran well. He was incredible in this game. That looks like a problem to deal with. I think this was a Jets showing out party more so than like the Patriots. We know the Patriots stink, but this is the Jets moment, I think, more so than anything else.
We do know the Patriots stink, but they really stunk in this one, Kyle. This was a bit of it. I agree. Aaron Rodgers was amazing here, but the thing is, like, kind of the one thing you always had as a Patriots fan was like, well, at least you're going to beat the Jets. But I don't even have that at this point. Kyle, the Patriots had 2.9 yards per play in this game.
Yeah. It was rough. It was borderline unwatchable. This offensive line's a disaster.
Yeah.
As we kind of figured it would be, it's just a disaster. They were getting killed in this game. Poor Jacoby Brissett. Like, I think Jacoby Brissett missed a lot of throws too. Like, part of the thing, like when teams are going to blitz you a whole bunch, you have to be ready to throw the ball. Like, there's hot routes. That's the whole point of it. When a team blitzes, you throw out the blitz kind of thing. And I just think there was several opportunities that he didn't do it. And it's, missed opportunities, but also like he also doesn't have a lot of time. And by the time he's now getting the ball, he's basically just looking at the line of scrimmage because he's anticipating the pass rush being there. So yeah, I think that's a problem. I don't really know how to evaluate this defense right now because I think we've played really good quarterbacks. I think that's part of the problem. And then not to mention, like, I've already gone through it, but like the Barmore injury before the season, Juwan Bentley was like a significant player for this team. He got hurt. He's out for the year now. And all this kind of stuff, I think adding up hasn't helped the defense play. But I also think the secondary has looked kind of bad. So I don't know. That could be a Bill Belichick loss thing, is not having that secondary play. So all that put together, it was ugly.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is like the defense isn't really playing well. The defense playing horrible. I mean, this is a bad game. Are you at the point where I know as a Buccaneers fan for many years, I would dread primetime games because it's almost always embarrassing because usually you're playing a good team, it always go poorly. Are you at that point yet as a Patriots fan?
No, I'm just taking it with a grain of salt. I can be a much more passive viewer at this point, it feels like. But yeah, it was just I just moved back to Florida, so all the family was together. We were like, oh, we're gonna watch the game, and then it was like 10 minutes in. It's like, all right, we can talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Did see Drake May play. It was gonna be
Yeah.
I had the tweet locked and loaded for Drake May is the first rookie quarterback with a touchdown pass this season.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost did it. And then he got sacked and they didn't call a timeout because for whatever reason.
Just like, whatever, let's just go home.
Yeah. And I was just like, I just needed him to come back and I needed him to throw the touchdown so bad. But he had a couple good throws.
I thought it looked good.
Yeah. I mean, it's very small sample, but I thought he had some good moments. I still don't think they're gonna play him just because they don't want to kill him. And Jacoby Brissett's a much more killable asset at this point behind that offensive line, unfortunately. But yeah, I think he I still think he's gonna play like I still think he's gonna play like 8 or 9 games. And I think the one thing too with the offensive line is his mobility allows him to do a little bit more because he is fast.
Yeah, we have someone says, can we talk about Will McDonald for a bit? I don't know if you're gonna love my take on Will McDonald. I think he's played okay. I think that the stat sheet I think has helped out. The stat sheet looks incredible, but this kind of always happens to start the year. Someone ends up with a big game. I think he's played well. I think he's been a solid role player so far. I think as a whole, though, the entire Jets defensive line as a unit is playing very well, and that's what I'm more. Even though McDonald's been the guy who's gotten all the sacks, I just think there's a lot of just so many different pieces that work well.
Yeah, their defense is rolling. I thought that was a really impressive group. Especially on the front line. And then, I mean, between that and Aaron Rodgers running the offense, are you fully back in on the Jets now? You wavered a little bit week 1, seeing them against San Francisco. Are you back in?
Well, in even week 2, they didn't look great against Tennessee, but I don't know. Am I going to put them into championship contenders tier again? I don't know if I can. I'm conflicted. We'll see when I do my tier rankings tomorrow morning if I put them into championship contenders tier again. I think my guess is probably not.
Yeah, maybe they need to show a little bit more. I just I don't know. I came away from that game thinking Rodgers is the lead again. I really did.
Yeah, he was very good. We have Super Chat. Jackson, do you think the Titans have a chance versus Miami? I think Alabama might have a chance versus Miami here. Let's get to the Miami Dolphins, who got destroyed by the Seattle Seahawks. How does Tim Boyle keep ending up in that? Every year, Tim Boyle is somehow, that guy finds a way into NFL games. Again, for those of you who are unaware, Tim Boyle, a negative touchdown to interception ratio in college, still has made his way into the NFL, keeps bouncing around teams. Skylar Thompson got hurt in this one. Tim Boyle came in. Never a good sign when that's the case. I thought that I don't think the Seahawks are the weirdest 3-0 team because I feel like the Seahawks have been underwhelming to start the year, and yet they're 3-0.
They did this last year too, though. Is the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but even then, I don't know, outside of the interceptions, which is a tough thing to say as a precursor. I thought Geno Smith played very well. He hit another big shot to DK Metcalf too, so that obviously skews the starts a little bit. But I think he's been a good quarterback the first 3 weeks of the season. I think Charbonnet's been very good too, and I think they've done some decent things. But I mean, this was just no contest when you saw those quarterbacks come out from Miami.
Yeah, I mean, listen. At the same time, winning in the NFL is hard, and you're 3-0. That's my team. I thought I had a great matchup, and we got destroyed. So you never know. Being 3-0 is 3-0, but and there are some really good parts of this team. I agree. I've always been a pro Geno Smith guy. I still am. DK Metcalf, like you said, the big play and some other plays as well. Your guy Zach Charbonnet with a big day in this one rushing, a lot of good stuff here. And it's I think too many turnovers by Seattle, but as a whole, I mean they're taking care of business against a team they should take care of business against.
Yeah, So there's one of two scenarios with this Tim Boyle thing. Either A, he's basically going to be a good coach in the NFL,
Uh-huh.
and like he's just being groomed by all these people because he basically shows up on every like offensive coach's depth chart.
Hmm.
So he's either going to be a coach in the NFL, or B, he's like the coolest guy ever. Which one do you think it is?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, for both. For a while, we said that we think Tim Boyle was like just an Aaron Rodgers yes man, and that's how he kept because he was with him for a while. Now the Dolphins have signed him though, and they had Mike White too, like a very established backup quarterback that they got rid of. Um,
And he was with Detroit in that group too, like last year.
right, right, yeah. I think it's both. Like, there's no way you can be Tim Boyle and be like a dick. Like you're not in the league if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, no chance. So he's got to be really cool. Like, do you think he's going to be like a coach, or do you think he just like cooks? Do you think he brings like food all the
Ooh,
time?
I bet it's like, or maybe it's like his like wife has like it like, brings really good snacks
A
to
little
like the
stereotypical there, but that's okay.
or husband.
Well, what if it's just him? Why can't he cook?
Well, I just feel like he's focused on football.
Really? He's the practice squad quarterback. How
You might be right. Yeah, maybe that he probably is spending his free. He's probably got a lot of free time, but he is a very good cook.
Yeah. Maybe he's just like killing the baking machine. He's just laying out some dough and putting together some awesome pastries for these guys during the meetings. I don't know.
Uh, Seriously though, Tua has injury history. Why did we do the Skylar Thompson thing? Why did they not get Jameis Winston? Why did they not get Andy Dalton?
Joe Flacco. I mean, they had Mike
Yeah,
White last year, and that worked a
they
little
had
bit.
him in the preseason, and then they cut him.
Yeah. So I guess it's going to be Tyler Huntley next week. Is that how it works?
I guess, but I mean, it's like like what are we like? Why was this not something we even considered until now?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like an oversight. I would agree.
All right, Kyle. Well, that is our show. Got off a bit off the rails at the end. I fuck the last game. We have very little to say, so we often get off the rails.
I mean, look, this game turned into 17-3, and I kind of turned it off. Let's be honest. Like,
I was watching every snap. This was the main game I was watching, Kyle.
Yeah, I was not, especially with that like Rams comeback going on too. Like, I was not exactly locked into the end of this game.
I think so, yeah. It was a tough one. Kyle, let me know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, if you prefer to listen to your podcast instead of watching them on YouTube, we do have it available there. It is On the Sideline Podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, it should be available. So check that out. Yeah, Kyle. Any final thoughts?
What did you think of what was it? Ernest, what's the movie?
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It was. I can see why kids would like it. It's. I mean, again, I have the review on the movie channel. It was very much a the best way I could describe the main character is he's trying to act as most of that emotion as possible at any specific moment. So if he's scared, it's like he's trying to like look like how like an over the top scared person would look. It's a very it was a bit of an. I don't know exactly why Overlap gave me $100 to review that movie, but it was a perfectly fine kids movie that was probably too scary for kids. So it's a bit of a weird situation.
What a time! Glad you did that. Let's get out of here. What a sports day! What a way to cap it off.
Yes. Again, thank you to everybody. We do appreciate all of you chatting along or watching after the fact or listening after the fact. We appreciate it. We will be back Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to pick all the games for week 4. And until then, have a good one.
Peace.